All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Sorry. Must do this. Uh, and we are covering climate change news of the day. And we are live on Rockfin. Awesome. What's up, Rockfin people? Early chatters are in on Rockfin. You can be an early chatter on Rockfin. If you sign up, come hang out, rokfin.com, Rockfin. Yeah. Anyways. Hopefully my sound is on. Hopefully my sound is on. Is my sound on? Is my sound on? If I say it enough, will my sound come on? Anyways, greetings, guys. And let's get into it. Welcome all. Loey Appets, Nasbanabs, Rich Diana, Max Sarjay, Last Monkey, Jay Thadcast. Those are just a few of the people on YouTube. Abel Trencherman, Urban Hermit, Laura Neufeld, are on Rockfin, hanging out with us on Rockfin. There are 2 live streams set up on Rockfin, so hopefully if somebody's on the other live stream, they'll figure out that they need to come to this live stream. I hope that's not what's happening. Anyways, maybe I'm confusing people. Loey Appet says, YouTube is taking more videos down. I'm often directed to BitChute. What's up, Regan Parrington? Yes, that's what we're going to do. Welcome. TCR, what's going on? Yeah, I know yesterday got a little hairy. We're going to talk about it later. But first, let's get into some... this is from some climate change news. This is from Chigozi sent this to me. Chigozi sends me lots of things. This is pretty weird. It's February, what's the date? February 13th. Well, this is from February 12th. 2 major wildfires across Bodmin Moor and Dartmoor. This is in England. 2 major wildfires broke out on moorland in the southwest last night. The first was reported on Dartmoor, and later in the evening, a wildfire 3 miles wide was reported on Bodmin. The public were urged to stay away from the extremely dangerous fire on Dartmoor. The fire was reported at 6:18 on Thursday, February 11th, at the Meads in Dartmoor National Park. On Twitter last night, Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Service said the weather is making conditions for firefighting extremely dangerous. It's very windy and low visibility, so we're maintaining our presence. Can you imagine? I mean, this is kind of weird, right? Wasn't there a story like this last year? Hope I'm not reading last year's news. I mean, it says February 12th, so I'm assuming this is this February. But it's never safe to assume anything, right? But still, wildfires in England in February. That is not normal, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not normal. Firefighters remained in place overnight to monitor from a distance. And this morning, Friday, report they are aware of 2 areas of gorse, which are currently still burning. Of gorse they are. Did you like that? It's a little bog, little more humor. Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? 10C in Ireland, very mild. Oh, yeah, I guess so, right? Irk 1, winter wildfires to keep you warm. Nasmanab says lit. Indeed. What's up, Brian Gorman and Catmandu? Catmandu, refresh the page, I guess, because that's going. I'm going. That's all I can say is refresh it or go out and come back in. I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. I am sorry that's happening. But we got a few people watching on the Rockfins. 7 watching on the Rockfins. Let's get more. Let's move on. Oh, didn't want to go there yet. Osama sent this to me. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really long. It's really long, but we're going to just kind of look at this a little bit. The terrifying warning lurking in the Earth's ancient rock record. We live on a wild planet. This is from February 11th, 2021. We live on a wild planet, a wobbly, erupting, ocean-sloshed orb that careens around a giant thermonuclear explosion in the void. Living in space. Big rocks whiz by overhead, and here on the Earth's surface, whole continents crash together, rip apart, and occasionally turn inside out, killing nearly everything. Our planet is fickle. When the unseen tug of celestial bodies points Earth towards a new star, for instance, the shift in sunlight can dry up the Sahara or fill it with hippopotamuses. Of more immediate interest today, a variation in the composition of the Earth's atmosphere of as little as 0.1% has meant the difference between sweltering Arctic rainforests and a half mile of ice atop Boston. That negligible wisp of the air is carbon dioxide. Since about the time of the American Civil War, CO2's crucial role in warming the planet has been well understood, and not just based on mathematical models. And that is key. The planet has run many experiments with different levels of atmospheric CO2. At some points in the Earth's history, lots of CO2 has vented from the crust and leaped from the seas, and the planet has gotten warm. At others, lots of CO2 has been hidden away in the rocks and in the ocean depths, and the planet has gotten cold. The sea level, meanwhile, has tried to keep up, rising and falling over the ages, with coastlines racing out across the continental shelf, only to be drawn back in again during the entire half-billion-year Phanerozoic eon of animal life. CO2 has been the primary driver of the Earth's climate, and sometimes when the planet has issued a truly titanic slug of CO2 into the atmosphere, things have gone horribly wrong. Today, atmospheric CO2 sits at 410, strike that, 420 parts per million, a higher level than at any point in more than 30 million years, and humans are injecting more CO2 into the atmosphere at one of the fastest rates ever. When hucksters tell you that the climate is always changing, they're right. But that's not the good news they think it is. The climate system is an angry beast. The late Columbia climate scientist Wally Brecker was fond of saying, and we are poking it with sticks. The beast has only just begun to snarl. All of recorded human history at only a few thousand years, a mere eye blink in geologic time, has played out in perhaps the most stable climate window of the past 650,000 years. We have been shielded from the climate's violence by our short civilizational memory. We wouldn't want any violence from the climate. I mean, The climate, being the climate and doing things, man, that's violent. It's really bad. Maybe we should fire the climate, or maybe we should deplatform the climate. The climate is so violent. And our remarkably good fortune. But humanity's ongoing chemistry experiment on our planet, could push the climate well beyond those slim historical parameters into a state it hasn't seen in tens of millions of years. A world for which Homo sapiens did not evolve. When there's been as much carbon dioxide in the air as there already is today, not to mention how much there's likely to be in 50 or 100 years, the world has been much, much warmer with seas 70 feet higher than they are today. Why? The planet today is not yet in equilibrium with the warped atmosphere that industrial civilization has recently created. If CO2 stays at its current levels, much less steadily increases, it will take centuries, even millennia, for the planet to fully find its new footing. The transition will be punishing in the near term and long term, and when it's over, Earth will look far different from the one that nursed humanity. This is the grim lesson of paleoclimatology. The planet seems to respond far more aggressively to small provocations than it's been projected to by many of our models. To truly appreciate the coming changes to our planet, we need to plumb the history of climate change. So let us take a trip back into deep time, a journey that will begin with the familiar climate of recorded history and end in the feverish high CO2 greenhouse of the early age of mammals 50 million years ago. It is a sobering journey, one that warns of catastrophic surprises that may be in store. This is a nice informational article. This is in the Atlantic, guys. If you want to look this up and read it, it's called "The Terrifying Warning Lurking in the Earth's Ancient Rock Record." I don't know if I'm going to read too much more. It's very, very long, but very informative. But I'm not really doing. I'm not into doing the books on tape thing right now. Today, so. But that overview kind of tells you what you need to know. That if you go back in time, that going back in time will tell you about our current time. And, human beings developed in a small window of relatively stable climate. And if you really, as the article says, poke the climate with sticks, if you really upend the stable climate that we developed in or evolved in, then, then you know what's going to happen, right? Jimmy John says the methane bomb isn't real. I don't know. I saw, you know what? That reminds me. I'll have to bring it back. Tomorrow we'll look at this Arctic News blog. But thanks for reminding me. That there's a new article from Sam Carana regarding methane, etc. This is from Friday, February 12th. We're not going to look at this today. We're going to look at it tomorrow, okay? A little bit of a teaser. But Jimmy John, I don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but the methane bomb is, I can say already, the methane bomb is already happening. We have, on average, 3 times, almost 2.5 times, sometimes 3 times more methane than we should have had at an industrial civilization baseline. And if you compare that to CO2, where we have 50% more CO2 from an industrial civilization baseline. So, 50% more CO2, 2.5 times more methane. So I don't know. I don't know where you get your. No, I'm not going to read the whole article, Jimmy John. I'm not really sure where you get that idea. Although some people have argued that maybe the methane bomb is overblown or not. There, but consider the fact that methane is leaking right now in the Arctic. So the methane bomb, most people would agree that the methane bomb is already triggered, and that we're just kind of waiting until more comes. Aaron C says evacuate to where? Another planet? Right. Sultan Bev, paper came out last month that says methane bomb started in 1960s and has passed point of no return back then. Jimmy John says, I've been researching the methane bomb for the past month and can conclude it's not real. Okay. Well, okay, Jimmy John. If you have evidence of that, please either link it in the comments or send me an email at blackbearnews, blackbearnews@gmail.com. And maybe we'll discuss. Jimmy John says a 50 gigaton burp that Shakova says is possible at any time is straight BS. Okay, well, okay. So let's again, send me whatever you have. But the very high levels of methane that are in the atmosphere right now are worrisome. Arctic Sea Ice Forum. Yeah, 300%. Forcing Climate Info says methane has gone up 300%, or 250, or 300%. So I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know about that one. I don't know if I can give that a lot of time, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's move on. Well, we'll look. Well, I'll read something from Arctic News tomorrow we'll talk about methane, I believe. So, right. Yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, the methane has already started leaking. So it kind of doesn't really matter. We're already going down the hole. Cornholio is on Rockfin. What's up? Laura Neufeld says, like the video. Thank you. Please do. Ross Cobbin, and all that methane will turn into CO2. And then there's that. So it's, even if we don't get the 50 gigaton burst, yeah, I know. Even if we don't get that, it's still not looking good. Okay. Let's move on to the last thing I wanted to cover. I saw this kind of in various places, but Go Green tweeted this out. August 1856, a U.S. woman suffragist, Eunice Foote, was the first person to describe the greenhouse gas effect in climate science and how it would warm the planet over 150 years ago. Dang it. That scientific patriarchy, and that's real, right? She was not allowed to give her findings, or people didn't listen to her. So, to the detriment of the science community. She described the greenhouse gas effect in climate science and how it would warm the planet over 150 years ago. That's way over 150 years ago. We're not way over. What is that? 160 something something. 164. 5. But American science forbid her from telling the world, instead giving credit to a man. Let's look at this story. Eunice Foote was born in New York State in 1819. She had gone to university at the Troy Female Seminary, where she was encouraged to attend a nearby college to study science. It was there she learned her scientific skills for her free-thinking experiments. Free thinking, open mind. All science is built on free thinking and open minds. Just a reminder, guys. In fact, she was not only a scientist, but she was also a dear friend of a well-known suffragist, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She was the first person to describe the greenhouse gas effect in climate science over 150 years ago. She described how these gases would change the globe's temperature. Little did she know how a population explosion and relentless carbon emissions would doom humankind to unimaginable horrors. She was unable to present her findings as they were prohibited by the 1856 American Association for the Advancement of Science. 3 years later, a male scientist presented her findings and has since been known as the father of climate science. Wow. Wow. I mean, and how many times has this been repeated in history, where a person of color or a woman discovered something or invented something, and then somebody else was like, hey, I got an idea. Foote did not get to present or read her paper by herself. Instead, Joseph Henry of the Smithsonian Institution editorialized Foote's study, saying that science was of no country and of no sex. So he was a progressive, Joseph Henry. Good on Joseph Henry. The sphere of woman embraces not only the beautiful and the useful, but the true. Whether this was meant to be a compliment to Foote's endeavors or a way of protecting her from the sexist criticism is anyone's guess, but either way, Foote's work wasn't read in full or with the seriousness it deserved. Foote's study was omitted from the Society's annual proceedings, where all the works that were presented at their annual meetings were published. Thus, in 1859, Irish scientist John Tyndall published his own paper and has since been widely credited as the father of modern climate science. And there you go. Luckily, times have changed, and we do not live in such a world anymore. I'm not saying that there are no instances of sexism, and I'm not saying that sexism is over or patriarchy is over. That's not what I'm saying. It's just not what it was 160 years ago, right? Things are way different. Women are allowed to present their findings and their studies and their theories, and everybody is like, there it is. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Last Monkey said, I'd love to see that model. Oh, you're talking about somebody else. Sexism is not sexy, says Nasman Abs. I concur. Sexism is stupid. You know what I'm saying? Sexism is just a whole bunch of dumb stuff. Yeah. All right. So lastly, guys, I just want to quickly talk about yesterday's discussion and Andy the gardener, and I'm gonna give a little physics demonstration too, or a little. We're gonna have a little physics talk quickly. It's not gonna go too long. So first of all, a lot of people were like in the comments, you're mean to your audience, and I wasn't actually being mean to my audience yesterday. I was being mean to Andy the gardener, who was insisting that he was right. I insist. Right? So, this is an interactive discussion. There's a lot of discussion on this channel. It's interactive, etc. But when somebody starts, just hammering like, I am right, I'm just going to keep on, just shouting everybody down that I'm right. That's not really cool. It's not really cool. And it's not okay. And that's really why I was upset at Andy the gardener. I wasn't upset. Like, I'm cool with disagreeing. There's people that disagree with me. It's fine. It's, we can have a disagreement we can have a difference of opinion, and we can let it go. But if you're in the chats or in the comments and you're like, I'm just gonna keep on telling you that you're wrong, and telling you you're an idiot, and all that kind of stuff. I am right, and I am right. I am right. I am right. I am right. Like, look, I don't chase people around the internet telling them I'm right. I have a channel. This is my channel, and I say what I want to say and what I have to say. Yeah, but Andy just was continuing, but I didn't block him. I told him he was an idiot, but I didn't block him. And then he came into the comment section and continued, I am right. I am right. I am right. And I gave him a very simple task. I said, if you're right, bring me this evidence that I require. And the reason why I asked, and I'll tell anybody, this, and we're talking about the Twin Towers on 9/11. You bring me evidence that a steel building fell down because of fire on any other day other than 9/11, and then I will openly, then I'll have a debate with you. We can debate the science, the physics. But if you can't bring me that evidence, then there's no debate, because you have no evidence of this ever happening on any other day in history other than 9/11, right? That's why 9/11 is an anomaly, and that's why the physics of that day don't stack up and they don't add up. And if you can't bring evidence that there's any other time in history that this has happened in the physical world, or another test of this theory that fire melted steel and a whole building collapsed because of fire, well, then you really don't have a lot of evidence. And I'll say that to anybody else. Anybody who wants to debate me on this, first, you must bring me evidence that this has happened on any day in history outside of 9/11, and then I'll debate you. But otherwise, you don't have any evidence that this is actually a real thing. So, right, Judy Truitt. Right, yeah. And Jimmy John, you understand. So but there were a lot of people that were like, you were being mean. No, what I was doing was responding to somebody who was insisting that they were right. And if any rules of engagement, like if somebody in your family, in your house, or in your space was like, no, I'm going to insist that I'm right, and I'm going to keep on insisting, right? You would be like, I'm out of here, right? Or you're going to have to leave, or I'm going to show you the door. So I'm not being mean. I wasn't being mean. I was just responding to somebody who was being really insistent that they were right. So, if you think I was being mean, no, not so much. Anyways, I was responding to somebody who was just insisting on their viewpoint, and that's That's not a debate. That's just a child screaming, I am right. I am right. That's just a child. You're being a child. I'm right. Being an adult is like, okay, we disagreed. Let's move on. I told him 6 times yesterday. Let's move on. Anyways, he kept doing that in the comments. I asked him for evidence. He came back and called me Alex Jones and all that. And so Andy the Gardener is gone, and he is gone forever. So everybody say goodbye to Andy the Gardener. He will never be back on this channel because he's a child, and he can't, he's a child screaming that he's right into the void. Now he's screaming into the void or wherever else he wants to scream about this. So if you can't, yeah, the dude says Andy the Gardener was trolling. I know, but the thing is that he kept on trolling into the comment section, and other people have done this before about lots of other things. But people have done this before about lots of other things. They come in the comment section, and they're like, I am right, I am right, I am right. They just keep on they're just like shouting me down. And like, look, I'm not being mean if I'm responding to somebody who is shouting me down. Right? So that's not, that's not okay. And some people just can't take, I continue to tell them, look, if you keep on shouting me down or keep this up, you're going to be gone. And I gave him plenty of warnings. So he did not take the warning. He did not heed the call. He got blocked forever and ever. So that's how that goes. Andy is gone. Nasmanabs, And other people in the history of this channel have been blocked forever and ever because they did that. They came in the comment section and just shouted me down. And that's not okay. It's not all right. If if you want to continue to do that, if you're somebody who thinks that you're really in the right and you must shout me down and you must, pound into my head that I am wrong and you are right. Like, look, man, I don't know how you think it's going to go any different, Anita M., he will easily find a channel that fits with his narratives. Indeed. Rich Diana, I don't know. But, I mean, I don't know that Andy the Gardener is on Rockfin. So, but I'm just, I'm not going to do that with people. If you're going to insist on shouting somebody down, and again, I didn't block Andy from the chat yesterday. I blocked him after he came into the chat, he came into the comments and kept going. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I realize I'm not a fan of censoring anybody either, but it's a difference between a difference in opinion and somebody like really getting in your face and like continuing to insult you. That's what that's about. So that's not okay, right? That's different from censoring. Hey, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to believe, there's a big wide world for you to believe and say anything you want, right? Out there. But if you're in my house, you don't get in my face and shout me down. You will be leaving my house, right? That's not censorship. That's called get the fuck out of my face. So, anyways, whatever. So really interesting. Guys, I want to do a quick, I really want to do a quick little physics lesson about, and it is about 9/11. And we'll, I won't make this long. Very, very interesting that Paul Beckwith, I'm sure it's not why he retweeted this. I've played this video on this channel before. I'm sure this is not why Paul Beckwith retweeted this, but it's interesting that he retweeted this video of a plane striking a concrete block. What happens to the plane? We'll watch that again. The plane is obliterated. And somebody says, note that the concrete slab doesn't move until the engine begins to touch it. Everything else on the plane is almost massless and doesn't do much structural damage. Somebody said 9/11, right? I'm like, yeah, because yeah. So this is a lesson in something called resistance. Something called resistance. So something that has a larger, denser mass is heavier. The plane is not as heavy as the concrete. It's very simple. Very simple. Plane is not as dense or heavy than the concrete. And it doesn't matter that the plane is going 500 miles an hour or whatever it is. The force is equal force, right? So whether or not the concrete slab is moving at 500 miles an hour and the plane is stationary, or the concrete slab is stationary and the plane is moving at 500 miles an hour, the force will be equal, right? The force will act, the larger, heavier mass will act with more force against the lighter, less dense mass. This is just a very simple understanding of physics. This is resistance. So the Twin Towers are huge structures, much bigger than that concrete block, way bigger. And all of these floors are huge concrete slabs. They're all concrete. And this is steel cages. They're literally steel cages. Look how, I mean, this is steel. This entire building is a cage of steel. And what I'm trying to say with this demonstration very quickly, is that whether or not you believe that the plane could penetrate that building, the way that the plane sliced through steel like butter is not possible, physically possible. It is not. There would be resistance acting against the plane. Let me give you another example. Yes, Osama, 500,000 tons apiece. So however heavy that concrete block was that plane ran into, that was probably thousands, tons of concrete. But we're talking about 500,000 tons, a 500,000 ton mass, a building, which is way bigger than that block of concrete. And much more mass and much heavier and much denser, right? So, a plane is made out of aluminum, very light. Why is it made very light? So it could fly in the air, so it doesn't sink to the ground. A concrete building is massive structure. Stand your ground. The plane, very light, fly through the air. Yeah. A little light fly through the air is not going to slice through a massive, stand your ground, massive building like butter. It's not going to happen. It's called resistance. So even if the plane could penetrate a little bit of the building, some of the building, let's say it penetrate, it's not going to go all the way in the building. It's going to eventually stop because there's resistance from this massive building, massive amount of weight and density. Right, so eventually that plane should stop, and the rest of the plane that didn't make it in the building is going to fall to the ground. That's how that should have looked. I know we all watched it on TV. Something else happened. I don't know. There's lots of theories. But that is the scene of a plane just slicing through steel and concrete like butter. Absolutely impossible. Absolutely physically impossible. Let me give you one more example before I go. If you built a net, a steel net, hanging in space, in the air, in the atmosphere, you built a big steel net, and you flew an airplane through the steel net, would the net catch the plane, or would the plane slice through the net like butter? What do you think would happen? A big steel net. If there was a huge net in the sky, it's made of steel, would it catch the plane, or would the plane slice through the steel like butter, or would the plane just completely explode? Kind of like this plane here. Would the plane completely explode, ramming against a big steel net in the sky? That's what this is. A huge, not just a net, but just a huge steel structure that is massive and very heavy and very dense, concrete and steel. You know what's really crazy? Even the craziest thing is this was tweeted out by this guy Massimo, who is supposedly an astronomer and astronautics. He's physics. Apparently, this guy is an engineer. And this guy, I said there's no way the plane makes it into the building in this thread. This guy is like, question my thing. I asked him, are you not understanding physics? He has not answered. He has not answered. Because he does, even this guy who calls himself an engineer is unclear about physics. No answer from Massimo, because I think Massimo is thinking about this right now. Massimo's going, huh. Huh. Old Massimo. Last monkey, is that all steel I'm seeing? That is a lot of steel. Anyways. Irk 1, it's not glass, guy. It is not glass. Look, Irk 1, I'm not going to get mad at you. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to show you this one more time. This is not glass. That is not what the planes went through. The planes went through steel. A cage of steel. Sliced through it like butter. And if you understand the density of aluminum, which a plane is made out of, the density of aluminum, as opposed to the density of steel, you'd understand that that is an impossibility. Irk 1. I don't really need to, well, yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I would be down to do that. But I don't want to, there are engineers that don't understand physics. That's the problem. The problem is there are some engineers that do understand physics, and there are some engineers that don't understand physics because their job depends on them not understanding it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Kevin Chanholzer, I would expect the plane to shatter. Exactly. So yeah, exactly. Again, one more time, if you had a steel cage in the sky or net in the sky, just in the sky, hanging down, would a plane just slice through that like butter? You have to understand the density of the materials of the plane and the density of the materials of the cage if the cage is steel. Anyways. Right. Alan Roberts, you literally see in this video that the plane wings... Huh? Huh? Wait, hold on. Yeah, no, the plane wings do not go through the concrete, Alan. They don't. They go around the concrete. That plane obliterated into tiny pieces, millions of pieces. Shattered. The tip went around the concrete, Alan Roberts. I'm just explaining to you the video. The tip goes around the concrete. That's the tip that didn't hit the concrete. It didn't go through the concrete. Yes, and lastly, Tom Mallard, the Twin Towers were designed. Oh, right, okay, I see Alan Roberts, I see. The Twin Towers were designed to take direct hits from commercial aircraft. The plan notes this. The plans note this, right. So they were designed to take a direct hit, meaning they were very strong, very, very strong. Anyways, okay, guys, that's all. I know we went into weird land, but I just wanted to do a little physics lesson, and we can discuss in the comments. Please don't, shout me down and insist you're right. We can have a debate. I'm down to have a debate. I'm just not down to get shouted down and told that I'm, crazy and I'm a lunatic and I'm on the fringe. Just bring the evidence and the facts and we'll debate. Okay? All right. Peace out, guys.